Okay, so this is again a video with some final lecture points about intellectual perseverance. I already shared this during the on-campus sessions. Of course, you were free during your period to follow along during the Zoom session, so I'm not going to repeat this information. During the review sessions, I did touch on a few of these bullet points, but for this final set of writing prompts, I have added all of the bullet points that further explain and clarify what intellectual perseverance consists of. Again, this comes from the original lessons. Very important little tiny paragraph here if you decide to focus on intellectual laziness, that is lacking intellectual perseverance, not having enough of that which would make you intellectually perseverant. You could talk about, lacking that or not having enough of it during a specific assignment or whatnot. You can use the word intellectual laziness and then basically talk about how you lacked most or all of these things for something. But what I really want to focus on in this video is making sure what you understand it is by focusing on what it is not. So we already focused on what it is. Now I want to give you a couple of incorrect examples in terms of what it is not. So similar to what I've said in previous lectures and iterations about the other two intellectual virtue concepts, you have to remember that you're not using your own opinion or prior experience with just the second half of the name for the concepts. You're not just thinking about perseverance generally, you're thinking about a very specific kind of perseverance, the intellectual kind. What is the intellectual kind? Well, the main definition is given here, and then of course it's further explained and elaborated upon here. Now, what would be an incorrect example of intellectual perseverance? Let's say that you're on the track team, right? And you are like 1 second away from beating your all-time high in the 400-meter sprint. And let's say you're really tired, you've been practicing, several times a week, you have one more week to practice before a big meet. But you're really tired, your muscles are sore, you've been practicing day in and day out, week after week for this meet, and you're really struggling, you're like, I don't know, you're not sure if you're going to beat your own score, you're not sure if you're going to do well, but your coach tells you, look, you've got to put in the work, you got to keep going, you got to keep training, you got to keep practicing. And so you do. And it turns out that you do beat your own record and you do actually win a medal. Now, that might be a kind of perseverance, but that is not an example of intellectual perseverance as defined in this lesson. So again, keep in mind that I assume that you followed along in class or via Zoom, the iteration and review of this concept. That's why I'm not reading off the slide. I'm just reminding and presenting to you that there is new information for you to look at after, or maybe you did it before this video, and that you need to use this. So the example that I gave might be an example of more like, we could call it athletic perseverance. In athletic perseverance might be broken down into the psychological perseverance, maybe like the spirit or the will to achieve. But of course, there's the physical perseverance of the body, the muscles, the tissues, the fascia, the cardiovascular system, the anabolic, components that go into sprinting. So all of that could be a kind of perseverance in terms of the physical, physiological, plus the mental, spiritual, or the will to achieve. But that would be athletic perseverance, not intellectual perseverance. Notice this says cognitive or intellectual task. Trying to beat your own record in a 400-meter sprint and to compete effectively against others at a meet, that is the wrong context for the kind of perseverance that we're focused on. This is about intellectual tasks, cognitive tasks, trying to learn or understand something, gain knowledge about something. That is an incorrect example of how we're using the word perseverance. We're not just using the word perseverance, we're using intellectual perseverance. If you had happened to give me that kind of example, you would not have applied the specific concept that we're dealing with. You might have applied athletic perseverance to an example in your life, but you didn't apply intellectual perseverance, much less to a specific instance in trying to understand or complete or work through or figure out something or learn about something in this class, or a category of, kinds of assignments in this class. Hey, Alexa.